pleased to be able to offer you this opportunity to further improve your national federation. Our vision at Am Aquatics is to see the entire aquatic community in the entire continent thriving. With the development programs offered by FINA, the opportunities and assistance offered by Am Aquatics, you have the support and guidance to get there. No matter where you are right now, big or small, if you practice one discipline or many, if you are just starting out, or if you have elite athletes, it doesn't matter. FINA and Am Aquatics are providing you the tools to get better, to improve, so we can all thrive. In line with FINA's plan for aquatics, Am Aquatics has identified key areas, my apologies, that will assist us on our path to be the best. Good governance is number one on that list. We hope that after tonight's webinar, you will be energized and motivated to become an even better leader than you already are. Being here is the first step. However, your attendance should not be to please me, to please Am Aquatics, to please FINA. It is an opportunity for you to learn more, to become better informed, and prepare to make decisions in difficult situations that your federation or your club may encounter. We have to realize that decisions that we make as leaders can have life-changing effects for our athletes. It is not about you and me. It's not about FINA. It's not about Am Aquatics. It's about the thousands of athletes that we are lucky enough to encounter while we are leaders. Young kids who enjoy the aquatic sports. They enjoy it so much that they spend hours every day to get better. And we as leaders have the opportunity to guide these athletes. That's a huge responsibility. And we owe it to all of those athletes, every single one of them, to provide a safe, fair, a transparent environment so that all of them get to enjoy the aquatics. Learning and implementing what is considered good governance will help all of us to provide the best possible environment for our athletes. I hope that each of you, presidents, secretaries of national federations, I hope that you extended this invitation to this seminar to all of the leaders in your federation. If you didn't, if there's only a few of you here, please make sure that when you receive the recording of this seminar, that you do share it with the other people in your federation. To start off this evening, I want to welcome two very special guests who all of you know at least by name. And those are Pere Miro and Sergio Conti, who are FINA development gurus, is what I call them. Both Sergio and Pere have been assisting all of us for many years now. And we are extremely grateful that they are here tonight with us to help us during this seminar. So to start off, I would like to give Pere the opportunity to say a few words. Pere?
Morning, hello everyone. So I'm Sergio. I know everyone by name, but we don't know. Unfortunately, we don't know each other personally. But Maureen, firstly, hello, good night. I don't know, good afternoon for you. Pere was supposed to join us. He's in Kazan in Russia, and I just talked to him, and then he told me he would join and say some words. But then I don't know more if you want to start and or you can wait. I'm trying to talk to him.
All right, so why don't we do that? Hector, if you can start your presentation, and then if there is able to join us from Kazan, then we will interrupt at wherever point is good for you.
Okay, yeah, that works. Sergio, is that all you have to say? You wanted to say some words about FINA and governance? Okay, I guess I'll start. So good evening, everyone. I'm happy to see so many people interested in hearing about governance. I think the title that Maureen came up, A Path to Success, really made the idea that this could be helpful for you in succeeding in what you're doing in your national federation or your club. And I want to thank her. I want to thank Maureen Crows, and I want to thank Yvonne Schuker from Am Aquatics, and Chris, who's there helping us with the technical things to make this seminar, this workshop possible. So the presentation will be divided in 4 sections. This welcome and introductions, and then I'll talk about what is good, why good governance, what is good governance. Then I'll talk about 8 principles that are to take into account to have good governance in a sports organization. And finally, the next steps that you could take to get your federation in better shape in governance. So my name is Hector Carranco. I've been working in the amateur sports in Canada for 20 years. I've been working with community sports organizations, national organizations, and developing strategic plannings and leadership governance services for them. And I am here because I am passionate about sports, because I believe that sport is a key element of a united and growing community. I'm sure that you have different reasons to be here. I heard what Maureen had to say, that I hope that you're here to please yourself, because that's and to help the athletes. So I know that there is a lot of people in the call 33, and it will be difficult for every one of you to tell me who you are, who you represent, and why you are here today. So I want to invite 2 or 3 of you to tell me why you're here. I want to choose randomly, and if you want to, Shermine Engel. Shermine, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Curacao.
From Curacao. Okay, so you represent the Curacao
Swimming Federation.
Okay, so why are you here today?
I'm here to get the information about the Am Aquatics and to inform myself about it.
Okay, so why? Why do you want to get informed about it?
So I can help the other board members from the swimming clubs for the athletes and so on.
Okay, so to help the athletes at the end of the day. Thank you.
Yes.
What about Wilfred Pratt? Okay, what about Janine Oh, she moved. Janine Stageverse. You want to tell us where you're from? Who do you represent?
Good evening. Yes, I'm also from the Federation of Curacao.
Oh,
And
okay.
Yes. So we also, yes, we want to have the information to, you know, to help our own federation and to develop more and to help our teams, our clubs, our members, and our athletes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
David Liger.
good evening. Sorry, I was having some technical issues.
Okay,
Yeah, my name is Wilfred Pratt. I represent Federation from the Bahamas. And we're interested in getting new ideas so we can push the sport of swimming further in the Bahamas, you know, and have it more recognized as a body.
okay. Have it more recognized. That, yeah, that's a good. Okay, so as I said, I'm sure that everyone has a very good reason to be here, and hopefully this presentation will do something for you. Okay, let's talk about good governance. The objective of this presentation is to offer you ideas for a path to success. So ideas for you to be successful with your national federation. So, and how we are defining success is that there is continuity. Okay, so that all the work that you're doing today will continue even if you are not there tomorrow. So we don't want to see national federations reinventing the wheel every time there is a change in administration. So the question is then, why? Why is governance important? Good governance, we're saying, is essential to have an efficient, effective, and ethical sport organization. The better the governance, the more efficient and more effective you become, and then all that effectiveness will go down to the athletes themselves and the athletes and the coaches, and your federation will look a lot better because your athletes and your coaches are having success. But good governance does not guarantee success. So you could have good governance and then you still have to work hard in order to get that success. However, poor governance almost certainly guarantees failure. If you are not well organized and you don't follow all the laws you need to follow, then the chances that you are going to fail. And failing it is not necessarily that you are going to disappear or anything like that, but that you won't get your goals. So you need to define your goals, and then you achieve the goals, that means success. But if you don't achieve your goals, then that could mean failure. Good governance also promotes long-term value at lot levels. So long-term value is, again, what I was talking about before, that we are here today and long-term maybe in 8 years from now and you won't be there, but good governance will help with that development in 8 or 10 years from now. So long-term value equals continuity. And we already said before that continuity equals success. So that's we are looking to have long-term value in order for you to have success in the future. And we'll talk about that, what it means in the future in a few minutes. So if you have good governance, the next administration after you or after the next administration will still be in a position to keep growing. So your athletes, your future athletes, maybe the athletes that haven't even been born, will be able to get all the experience that is being built today, because everything has been growing without any rest. So you will be a better federation every year if you have good governance. Good governance help your federation to remain stable. So again, if you're stable, you will transcend to the next people that comes after you, and it will help you to withstand hardship and possible problems. And that's what good governance will help you the most. And when I say possible problems, I mean human resources issues, problems with coaches, officials, administrators, volunteers. Will help you with concerns about your financial stability. So are you sure that you're going to be able to organize that next event? Do you have enough money to do that? It will help you with the demands from your members. People are asking for more and more from your from the federations, and then that governance will help you with that. Lack of qualified volunteers. You know how difficult it is to run events because events are run by volunteers. So those kind of problems will governance will help you with dispute or scandal. You know, if there is a problem with an athlete, is a problem with a coach, and you are well organized and you have the right policies and procedures, then it will help you with that. When there is no diversity and inclusion, so we know that diversity exists, right? But we need to decide that we want to have inclusion. So inclusion is a choice that we can make, and that could be built in our governance. Harassment in sport issues, you know, we know that we need to protect our athletes, and that's something that when you have good governance will be better managed. And in effective conflict management, there's problems everywhere. And if you had good governance, if you had good policies, then you will be able to navigate through them easily. I mean, I'm going to say that they won't happen, but if they happen, you will have the tools to navigate through those. Okay, so I have a few questions for you. There is a survey that Chris will put in your screens. I want you to tell me, what do you think is governance and what do you think is governance is not?
Sorry, Hector, I'm just having an issue with it. It's telling me that because we're logged on from another device, polling is inactive. I'm logged in, so multiple people are logged in from the admin account. Polling is inactive. I'm sorry, I did not realize that was a limited feature.
No worries, Chris. No problem. So, well, you can read the question. So, which of the following is not governance? And there is a list on the left of your screen. The doing and running of an organization, is that governance or not? Is governance ongoing, deliberate, and proactive? Is governance an organization's day-to-day and week-to-week activity? Is governance leadership in terms of purpose, strategy, and values? Is governance a reactive process when things go wrong? Is governance a set of checks and balances for managing risk? And again, the other column asks the same question: which of the following is governance? And just read them, and I'll go through those answers in the next few slides, but I just want you to take a mental note of what your answers would be and then compare them with what I'm going to say. All right, I'll give you another minute to read the questions, and we'll go through those things in the next slides. All right, I'll move on. So, what is governance? And I was at the meeting last week with and there was Dale Newberger talk about the concerns FINA has about how things are done. And so that is concerns about governance. But what is governance? And that's what we are going to talk about in the next few slides. So governance is a system to direct and control an organization. So the most important thing here is that governance is a system to manage and control organization. And the other important thing about governance is that governance set the expectations for the culture of the organization. And culture, I mean, how you expect people to behave. People who are members of your federation, how you expect them to behave. And I'll talk about that, more about that in a moment. So here is the list of what governance is not. So governance is not the doing and running of an organization. So governance is not what the organization does or how it runs. Governance, you don't get governance because you have been doing something for many years. That is not governance. Governance is not the activities an organization offers. Governance is not something secondary and sporadic that you do when time permits. Governance is not a reactive process when things go wrong. And governance is not box ticking to receive funding. You know that you had that questionnaire that FINA asked you to fill. That is to show that you have governance, but that is not governance. Okay, so compare that to the next slide, which what is governance? So governance is something that happens all the time. And it makes the thinking proactive. Governance is monitoring the organization. So monitoring means evaluating. Governance is setting the strategy and values the organization stands for. Governance is how the organization makes its decisions. Governance is accountability and transparency. And you heard that a lot the other day too. And governance is monitoring and evaluating the organization's performance. One measure of organization performance is the athlete's performance, right? So because the athletes could be performing well, you said, okay, we are a good organization. The better organization is governed, the better the athletes' training conditions are and the better the performance. So you could have a very good athlete that was going to be good anyways, but if you had good governance, then you can develop more athletes because your organization is running better. So, and all that comes with a governance plan. So we're familiar with sport, and when we have a meet or a tournament, we make a game plan for our athletes. So I'll try to explain the parts of governance, making an analogy with the sport. I chose water polo because it is a team sport and it is better. The analogy works better. So for a game plan to be effective, we need to know the objective of the game. The game's rules, who are in our team, and how they are going to play. Okay? Does that make sense? So if you have any question, just raise your hand. You know how to raise your hand with Zoom, or put the question in the chat box and we'll go through your questions. So I'll go one by one. So what is the objective of the government sport, I'm gonna call it? The objective is to have processes and systems to make good decisions, to achieve the organization's purpose. So it is all about making good decisions and knowing where we're going, what is our purpose. It is also about setting the expectations of how the team members will behave. So for instance, let's talk about water polo. You tell the water polo players that they have to be fast, they have to be aggressive, they have to shoot as soon as they see the net clear. They have to pass the ball if they are in the first 3 quarters of the pool. So that's the behavior you want from them, but you need to tell them and you need to train those behaviors. The same with governance. We need to decide what are the values and behaviors, and then we are, as the leaders of the organization, who exemplify those behaviors. So what are the rules? Following the water polo analogy, there are the rules of the sport that need to be followed, but also the rules of the pool, the rules of the change rooms, and so on. The rules of governance are the legislation in your country, the legislation maybe in your state and your city, your constitution, and bylaws. So all those rules need to be taken into account. And those rules include policies and procedures that limit what you can do and what you cannot do. Okay, so now you know the rules. You need to know who is on your team. Oh, sorry about that. So in the governance team, the board of directors is one of the team members. If you have executive director, he or she will be part of the team members. And all of them have the support of the members. So the members are also part of the governance team, and we'll see why. And all the same as in the water polo analogy, we have players, but one of the players is the goaltender. Some of the players are defense, some of the players are forward. So each one has a different role. So in the governance team, each one has a different role, and one of the roles is holding each other to account. So we need to make sure each other that we are doing the things as the rules are asking to be done. Here is a more expanded look at the governance team. So the members are who the organization exists to serve. So the members are the athletes, the coaches, the officials, the volunteers, the administrators, the board members. They have powers under the Constitution, and one of the powers is to elect directors to the board and approve changes to the organization. So that's why they need to be included as part of the governance team. Then you have the board, the board is a group of directors who have the ultimate responsibility for the organization. So the organization, they, so to speak, own the organization. Even though they change, they are the people responsible for it. They make decisions based in the best interests of the organization and its members. And they set, approve, and are accountable for the vision and the strategy of the organization. They decide when they are in power, when they are elected, where the organization is going. Then there is the directors. So the directors are part of the board, but one by one are part of the team. So the board is one thing as together, and the directors are also part of the team. And the most important thing, other than do the work, is exemplify the behavior that is expected. So when you are a director of a sport organization, people are looking at you, and whatever you do will be reflected to the organization. So what I tell the athletes when I go see them, be good, behave, and make us proud. And that's something that we all need to thinking about. We need to be good, we need to behave, and we should be thinking about making everybody proud about our behavior. And finally, if you have an executive director, then he or she is part of the governance team. And in a short sentence, what executive directors do is to support the board and the directors in the strategic plan. They oversee the day-to-day operations, and they are a very important part. I know, I don't know how many of you have a paid executive director, or most of you have volunteer-run federations, but it would be an important thing an important member to have. Then finally, how it's played. And how it's played are the values that support the culture and the behavior. So the culture is exemplified in trust to each other, and confidence that there will be support of our teammates. So going back to the water polo analogy, so you tell your players that they need to respect their opponents and the rules, so that's a behavior that you expect from them. And you tell them that they have to play with courage, that they have to play as a team, that they have to play tirelessly. So those are values that you are expecting, and each one of them should be expecting the behavior from the other for the things to work. So you define, you agree on values as an organization, and then you play with them. You follow those values all the time. All right. There's any questions so far? No questions? All clear? All right. Okay, so now we'll get into principles of governance. First, a principle is a fundamental proposition that serves as a foundation for a system. So are the concepts that found the system. So we know that governance is a system. So the principles are those. So the next slide is another survey that I want you to, again, think about it when, because the surveys are not working. So the question is, have your national federation agreed on values all its members stand for? So think about, yes, we have a set of values that we all stand for, or no, or maybe you don't know, and that's okay. And the other question is, what are the values your national federation stands for or should stand for? I have there 9 values: honesty, hard work, teamwork, respect, leadership, fairness, discipline, dedication, diversity, or other value. So if your national federation has values, any of those are in the list of values? And if your national federation doesn't have values that you have agreed upon, which ones do you think you should have of those? Okay? So let's talk about the principles. Principle number one is an organization culture and behavior should be supported by values. And I have talked a lot about values before, but there is now the administration by values that has is an administration theory that you define the values and then you call a coworker that doesn't behave as expected. So it is to make sure that everybody does the things in the same way. The other day, I was talking to someone who works in an information technology company here in Ottawa, and he was saying, "Oh, now my director, he is very values driven, and they let go a person because he was not holding up the values when he was selling." He didn't say exactly what was the problem, but he talked about values. And values are, that's why they are important. So values are an important thing to think about when you have, because all your members, staff, volunteers, officials, directors on board should be aware and should agree to follow those values, to behave based on those values. And there are good reasons why to have a values-driven administration. So it encourages collaboration. If everybody behaves the same, then people would be more willing to work together. It leads to better decisions because when the board all have know the values of the organization, and then there's a decision to be made, one question that needs to be asked is, oh, is that decision in accordance with our values? And if it's not, then it's very easy to say, no, we're not going to do that. And nobody will question. But if you do something that is not aligned with the values, then people will question, why are you doing that if that is not? I mean, the easiest thing the easiest example is if that is not an honest thing to do, when honesty is a given value, you know? When you have values well defined, then people will want to work for you because they all like your culture. And it would be easy to know if someone is behaving in line with your organization. I am originally from Mexico, and I came to Canada 25 years ago, and I felt the culture shock in a very funny way. It was a value that in Mexico is different than in Canada. And you can say, oh, that's silly, but so I went to a grocery store, I took the basket to the car, and then I just put it there besides the other car, and I was leaving, and somebody said, why did you leave the car there? The cars should go to the corral of the cars. But in Mexico, because there's a lot of people that could do things for you, never occurred to me that that was, so the expected behavior was to bring the car to the corral instead of just leaving it there. And I say it's silly, but then if the value is there and people know about it, then there is less likely that people will misbehave. If everybody knows how they should behave, it is less likely that they misbehave, and then people will behave better. All right, the second principle is to agree on a clear vision and a strategic plan with clear goals. So the principle says, have a strategy, have a clear vision. And it is very important to know, have a vision to be able to do it. And the analogy here is, let's say, with the swimmers or with the divers. We know that they do vision exercises, that they close their eyes and then they go through the dive in their mind, because they know exactly what they need to do. If they wouldn't know exactly what they need to do, they could close their eyes and say, okay, what I'm doing. You know, because they know exactly what they have to do. They know exactly how the dive needs to be. They can have that vision in their mind. And that is the idea, that you have a clear vision of what is that you want to do, not for the next dive, for the next 4 years, let's say, in a quadriennial plan. Or maybe we are in the middle of the quadriennial, so maybe for the next 6 years. So what you want to happen between today and the Los Angeles Olympics. And you can set different goals at different times with that aim at the end. So you say by 2028, my national federation will have so many athletes at a certain level. Maybe if you are a small federation, you could say, I want to have finalists for the Pan American Games the year before, or I want to have top 10, you know, but so to know exactly where you want to go, and that's just part of the vision. So you can plan better and get everybody excited. So what are the benefits of doing a strategy? It ensures organizational resources are used in a coordinated way. Because if you know what is that you're looking from your coaches, your volunteers, your officials, then you know how much resources they need to do for the next 2, 4, 6, 8 years. So, and because organizations then can be proactive to the things, instead of saying, oh, we didn't have the South American Games in our plan, so well, let's send a team anyways. So if you have a clear plan, then that won't happen. And there is consistency in the decision making. Again, when I talk to my customers about strategic planning, I say the strategic plan is the best tool to say no. Because you know what is the plan, you know what you need to get there. And if someone comes with a great idea, but that doesn't align with what you will have to do, you can say no. But if you don't know, then you're going to say, oh, okay, let's do it. And you'll find out 6 months later, and I don't know how many dollars after, I didn't need to do that. So you need to have a plan in order to make more effective decisions, because you have targets to work towards. And the members understand where they are going, and then they feel connected with the goal and they feel excited. And there is no better tool than excitement from the members to make things happen. The next principle is having a diverse board. So boards should be a diverse group of people. And why diversity is good? Because then if you have men and women, young and old, and different combinations of different people in your board, then they will have different perspectives. And when you make a decision, then you will have answers for people. Why didn't you do that? And for instance, why don't you have children of certain age, younger than certain age? And they say, well, because we had a person, so the decision was made with information from someone who knows about children education, children physiology, and that's why we didn't do it. So you will have better, more informed decisions if you have a diverse board. So the benefits of diversity, give me a second, there. So as I said, there are better decisions are made because there is more debate and different perspectives. Diverse boards attract new participants because there may be people who are related somehow to different communities in the city, to different people in the country that could come and make you a better federation, because you have more athletes of different diverse ethnical upbringing, and you have diversity, then you can have more people, and then you can prepare those to become the board members that you don't want to be anymore. Maybe you have been you have been there for so many years because there's no one that will want to be the president of the secretary. So you will have more people to draw from, and you will prepare them for that transition. And you could have ideas and insights from people from other industries, right? If you can appoint board members, and then you invite people from other places, from other industries, and they will give you ideas that you never thought about. So that's why diversity is a good thing for your board. The next principle is having documented rules that define the structure, duties, responsibilities, and powers of members, directors, committees, and staff. So that's why I call it there the rule book. So it documents that outline the duties, responsibilities of your members. And it is interesting that we have, remember, something that governance is not, is not, because you have been doing it for a very long time, doesn't mean that you have governance. See, and when we talk about continuity, is if the rule book is documented, if it's written down, then it is easier to inherit it to someone else. If you take all the rules, you take all the information in your mind, then when you leave, that corporate knowledge is lost. So documented rules, organizations that have rules documented, they meet their legal and regulatory obligations and responsibilities. It's like the other day I was listening to Dale, and he was saying, there's some federations that haven't sent their constitution yet. And maybe because nobody knew, maybe because who knew is not there anymore. And it was not written down anywhere. So let's document everything that we have to do, so the next person who comes knows it. And then there will be more time to direction and oversight, because you wouldn't be concerned about what I need to do, because everything will be documented. And if you have a staff, they will be more efficient, because they will have autonomy, because everything is written down. And then if something, because there's always the thing that has never happened, they will bring the board, but only when it's necessary. And the board will be doing more the strategy than the running. And if they are documented and you have committees, then the committees add value to your governance and they do very specific things. And you will need to have terms of reference to regulate what they do, but it is easier to do more stuff if you have committees. And if you have committees, then they provide the opportunity for people to learn before they become board members. So your succession plan needs to be, or could be, based on the fact that you have committees where people are learning the ropes of your sport. They are learning how the sport works from the international, national, and local level. All right. The next principle is having accountability and transparency through effective processes and continual review of the performance. So again, people is accountable for what they are doing and things need to be done transparent. So your sport organization is well regarded in your community. And to have accountability and transparency has a lot of benefits. One of them is that your stakeholders, that means your members and everything within, but also outside, your donors, your sponsors will have better understanding of what you're doing, and they will trust you more. And maybe the donors will donate more, and maybe the sponsor will give you better sponsorship packages. Because they will know that you will do things in a transparent way. And you will not repeat mistakes because you will have with the accountability process, you'll know what happened, and then you will be able to fix the problem. And at the end of the day, trust is something that is very difficult to gain and very easy to lose. And when you lose it, it is very difficult to regain again. So, but if you do it once first and then you have everything documented and people trust you, that you will have access to more resources, as I said before, and then more freedom to operate because people will let you do all what you're doing because they trust you. It says disputes are easily managed, and easily is a very light word there, but so disputes are able to be managed through a resolution process because everybody knows what needs to be done and it's done in a transparent way. And at the end of the day, better decisions are made because there is understanding of what the role of each person in the organization has to do. So the defense, the sixth principle is to protect the organization. So you, the board, as I said, is the ultimate responsible for the organization. If something happens within the organization or to the organization, the board is responsible for that. It's not the coach. It's not, well, it's not the volunteer, it's not the athlete. The board is responsible for that. So they and the board members, the directors, need to know that there is always a risk in all what you do. So what you need to have is a systematic way, a systematic process to manage the risk. So what I call here the defense is the system that protects the organization. And there are different ways to deal with risk. One way is to transfer the risk to someone else. And that's what you do when you have an insurance policy, right? So the insurance policy, what it's doing is, I know that there's a risk that there will be a fire in this building. So I am buying a fire insurance policy just in case. So you're transferring the risk of that to the insurance company. And then if something happens, they pay for you to repair or replace or to do that. So that's a way to manage risk, but there are other ways, but you need to have that system. And again, the benefits of risk management is to avoid or limit the negative consequences, right? So okay. That was funny. To avoid the negative consequences of something. So when you have a risk management system, that you limit that. You have an effective, consistent approach to risk. So if something bad needs to happen, I mean, it needs to happen. I am involved here with some canoe clubs, and we know that we are on the water, and we know that the environment, there is current in the river. So we say, okay, we are okay with all the risk, but we ask all the athletes to wear life jackets. So we are mitigated risk by that. And we know that if we do it consistently, so all the athletes wear the life jacket all the time, then the risk is managed effectively. And there are clear parameters. So just to talk about that, so there is cold water training. So here in Ottawa right now, we had a warm day. It was 3 degrees, but during the summer, during the spring, the water is really cold because there is all the ice melting. So the water is very cold, and we have policies that for people not to go on the water if the water is less than 8 degrees Celsius. And if it's between 8 and another temperature, they need always to wear life jackets. And they need to bring a safety kit of that kind. So it's just because in case they capsize, we can mitigate them to be in a worse accidents. And all your goals and objectives that you define in your strategic plan are achievable because you consider the risk. If you didn't consider the risk and the risk happened, then things are going to fall off the rails because the risk is going to be more than you can handle. And compliance with risk management can lead to eligibility to fund and grants programs. And that's important. That's something else that Dale was talking about the other day. So they need to see that you have all these things within what you're doing just to make sure that FINA is covered because you are covered, so that's why it's very important. And if you are covered, then they can give you more money because they are sure that you are going to do a good job. Right? So the next principle is to have measures and protocols to ensure the integrity of the sport and safeguard its participants. Here in Canada, we call it Safe Sport. Safe Sport for All is a federal government initiative that mandates to all the national sport organizations to have a safe sport policy. And the safe sport policy is very long and cumbersome because it takes in account too many things. Because what they want, what Sport Canada wants, is for every athlete, every coach, every person that is within the sports system to be safe. And to be safe means harassment, means abuse, means sexual abuse, means physical abuse, means so many things, right? So it is very important that your national federation cares about your athletes, care about your members. And the benefits to look after the integrity is if you have a system for that, you handle the integrity proactively. It means that you are thinking about that before it happens. And when it happens, you know what you have to do. And that will have an impact in the reputation of your sports organization in the community. They will say, oh, you know, I've seen that they are talking about this, that they are taking care of their athletes, and then they may prefer to come to your sport than to other sport that is not doing that, or at least is not communicating it. And if you have this system of integrity, then all the participants have a safe experience because they know that their health and well-being is valued. That enhances participant retention. And participant retention is the most, I think, the most important thing that could happen to your sport. I was talking about 2028, the LA Olympics. So that's 6 years from now. Let's talk about diving again. We know that divers, if we look at the latest Olympics, they are within, I would say, and you know better than me, 26 and 28 years old, let's say, for the sake of argument. So if this will happen in 6 years from now, that means that you have an athlete that is 17 years old, 15 years old today, that needs to stay in the sport to have a chance to go to the Olympics in 2028. Because with enough experience, because we'll have at least 6 years of experience, plus the years that whatever they have already, before they try to qualify. But for that to happen, you need to retain them. So that's why I say it is the most important thing. Retention is one of the, I think, the measures that really explains how good you are working with your athletes. Because if your athletes at that time, they have many years in the sport, that means that you have been able to retain them and then they have a better chance. So when you have an integrity system, that retention is easier. And because everybody's aware that this happens, the likelihood that an incident will happen is reduced. It's not unfortunately reduced to zero, but it is reduced because people know that you are vigilant, that you are being proactive, and that you don't want that the integrity of your national federation is undermined. And okay, so there is an 8 principle, and the 8 principle is that the board must have an system of internal controls to be able to monitor performance and track the progress against the strategy. So you have a strategy, you know what you want to do, but you don't say that and then let it happen. So you need to be able to say, for some things month by month, for other things every quarter, for some other things every year, how things are going. And you need to be able, you need a system that allows you to monitor that. To, at the end of the day, foster continuous improvement. So you want to be better every day. That's why we are here for, to be better. So you want to be a better board member. You want to be a better sport organization. So, but you need to know how you are now and to be able to measure how better you are tomorrow, or how better you want to be at the end of a cycle. And you define how long the cycle is. And again, the benefits of having a monitoring system, it is more likely that you will achieve those goals that you set up in your strategic plan. Because in the strategic plan, it shouldn't be a document that you write and then you forget about it. It should be the document that runs your sport organization, your national federation. So you have your strategic plan, and every certain time you will check how am I doing? Oh, you know, that thing I was focusing on is not helping. Then you are able to say, okay, let's forget about that and let's do this. But you will do that with information that you will get from your monitoring system. That will enhance then the trust that your stakeholders, again, your members, your officials, your volunteers, but also the stakeholders are your donors, the your government, your sponsors. They will trust you more because they will know, you will let them know that you're checking and that you are doing this. You will have a better board. And if you have an executive director, you have a better executive director, because there will be opportunities of development, and those opportunities will be identified through the monitoring. Said, okay, we need to do a better job with our finances, and the executive director, he or she is not an accountant or a financial person. So let's give him or her this training so that could be better. So takes the training and now it's better, and then your organization is better. But you did that based on how he or she was performing, not out of the blue. Say, okay, let's have some training. So you will have a way to evaluate and say and decide that. Because you will be identifying the issues sooner rather than later. So you will be more proactive more than reactive. And the issues usually cause financial problems, strategic planning problems, or reputational risks. And the reputation is something that is so important that based on the reputation, people trust or not. So you have a good reputation, keep it like that. But it is easier said than done. So to keep it like that, you need to have a good governance model to deliver on that. All right. Do we have any questions?
Hector, I have one question.
Yes, Sergio?
It's more related to the values when you started, because the values is the base, you know, of everything. So my question is more how is the best way to define our values? And also there are some values, maybe for you at Mexico, it's more important than someone in Germany, for example. So also how to define the most important values and define the universal values. For example, fair play. This should be important for everyone. So how is the best way to define our values?
Okay, that's a very good question, Sergio. Thank you. The values should come from the organization, and so the values are usually defined during the strategic planning process. So, in the strategic plan, you define your vision, your mission, and your values. So that there needs to be a discussion within the organization with all the stakeholders. It is not something that the board will get together and will say, okay, these are going to be our values. There needs to be consultation with everybody in the organization. So it could be through interviews, informal interviews. You could go to the pool and you need to let people know, we are working on our values. So we are going to be asking questions and we hope you participate. And then you go to the pool with a clipboard and talk to the children, talk to the parents, talk to the coaches, talk to the volunteers, saying, okay, what are the values that are important to you? And then usually there is a strategic planning committee that is, again, like it should be diverse from people from the board, people, coaches, athletes representatives, maybe even donors and such, to find what are the values that describe that specific organization. The other thing that needs to be taken into account is that, for instance, these national federations are affiliated to FINA. So, and FINA has its own strategic plan with its own vision and with its own values. But because we are affiliated to FINA, it would be better if we are aligned with FINA values. And those are what you call the universal values. And universal means in your own universe. And your universe starts in FINA. And maybe, and I mean, I'm just thinking that it is how it is. FINA, because FINA is affiliated to the IOC, FINA looks at the IOC, what are the IOC values? Okay, I'm going to integrate those values into my values because I need to be aligned with them if I want to be part of them. And then the national federations, because they are associated with FINA, they said, okay, what are the FINA values? And those are going to be part of our universe. But then, as you said, there are cultural things that also matter. So then you have your own list of values that reflect from your the international federation to the national federation. And then under the national federations, there may be clubs. And it would be better if the clubs, each club is doing their own strategic planning exercise, and they look into their national federation values because that's their universe. And then within their own community, what are the values that they care? I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, Hector, thank you very much.
So as an example, I've been working lately. I had a partnership with the provinces canoeing federation here in Ontario. So and the project is to help canoe clubs develop their strategic plan. So the provincial sport organization, they put some money so that they could hire this service. And so I've done 6 or 7 of them. And the interesting thing is that they are all Canadian. They are all canoeing and they are all in the same province. But if you look at the list of values, they are all different. You know, or they use different words. They use different, it is very interesting. All of them, because that's part of the exercise, are aligned with the strategic plan of Canoe Kayak Ontario, because they say we want to grow the membership in 30%. So, but if they say that, but the clubs are not aligned with that, then that's a void. So what we want is that the clubs be aware that the provincial sport organization wants that, for that to happen. So when they talk about membership, they are thinking, oh, we need to contribute to that 30%. You know, and when Canoe Kayak Ontario says one of our values is diversity, that gets reflected on the values of the clubs themselves. So you need to take into account locally and whatever your universe is, that could be your local federation, your national federation, or for the national federations, FINA, and for FINA, the IOC. Yeah, very, very good question. Anybody else?
I believe Evanel from Haiti said in the chat that he has a question.
Go ahead.
Please unmute yourself, Evanel.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Hector. Thank you, Conti. Wonderful question and great presentation. We learned a lot from it. Regarding your experience, culture, Mexico culture and Canadian culture, two different things that can create a shock. You know, going to a store and leave your cart outside, that's pretty simple. But you were called, hey man, why did you leave your this, you know? In Mexico, that would not be the same. Now, should you really be shocked? No, because you did not know, you are not aware of that. And I think as a federation, this kind of webinar, this kind of training, very important, because whenever we are assigned to do something, at least we are aware of things that need to be done. Sometimes being judged for what you don't know, I think is not a sin, you know? And our goal is to work together to reflect FINA that has been doing such a wonderful thing all over the world. It's for me, it's this testimony. Without FINA, we would not have any swimming in Haiti, my country. But my situation, not the same like big other countries. It's a question of the situation, the value, and the where you locate. So again, thank you for that presentation. And thank you, FINA, and thank you, Am Aquatics, for putting in place this kind of thing. At least we learn a lot from, and to avoid mistakes in the future.
Thank you, Evanel. Yes, I think that this kind of thing is very important. But I want to tell you something. I'm not finished yet. So, there is going to be a survey again. So the questions are: does your national federation have a governance model in place? So just in your mind, check or not check, have an approved strategic plan. Does it have an approved financial plan? Does it have means to communicate with key stakeholders? Does it have legal, ethical, and updated policies? Does it have a strong culture, a clear purpose based on shared values? Does it have a risk management system? All right. So these questions, I mean, I'm almost at the end, but these questions are about how a 21st century sport organization should be. And when I say 21st century sport organization, I mean, so I don't know, because I am assuming that most, if not all, of you here tonight are volunteers who love the sport. And your reason to be here is because you love the sport, you want to help. But as I said, you as board members are ultimately responsible for whatever is happening at the pool. And we know that pools are intrinsically risky because there is water. Okay, so you are leaders of National Sports Organization, and you are affiliated to an international sport organization that expects a lot from you. Because FINA, expects to deal with a 21st century sport organization. And this is how a 21st century sport organization looks like. It has the right governance model in place to achieve strategic outcomes, clear separation of roles and responsibilities, and empower committees. They have relevant strategic and financial plans that are approved by the membership and monitored and shared and updated. They have developed the means to communicate with the stakeholders. They have updated policies that meet legal and ethical expectations. They have a strong culture and a clear purpose based on shared values. And they have an integrated risk management into their decision-making at all levels. So when you see the questionnaire that FINA needs you to fill, it is asking for all these things. And I understand that it could be sometimes difficult and challenging to have all the documentation for everything when you are there for the last maybe 3-4 years, and this could have happened in so many years. So following the principles, you can get to be a 21st century sport organization, but it has a lot of work behind it. But the upside is the better you are, the better programs you will have, the better coaches will want to work with you, and at the end of the day, the athletes will be happier and better, or better and happier. I don't know what comes first, to be happy or to be better. I think it comes first that they get better, and that's why they are happier. So that is, at the end of the day, where you should aim for to be, what I'm calling here a 21st century sport organization. Now, do you have any other question?
Maybe before we get into the questions, Hector,
Yes.
can we give Sergio from FINA the opportunity to say a few words, especially just as coming from FINA, but also obviously in response to the presentation that you had?
Yes, for sure.
Okay. Go ahead, Sergio.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you, Hector, for the presentation. Thank you, Am Aquatics, for organizing the webinar. Thank you for everyone being here. So my goal here also is true. We are all the time learning, but also I'd like to reinforce the importance of governance for FINA. It's one of the most important subjects at this moment. So last year we started with the governance surveys. You know well the surveys, the way that we started the subject. I understand, Mr. Mervilus, I understand your point. So maybe you said that you didn't start in the best way, but for these, we are also improving. You are also improving. This year, we will launch a lot of trainings and we will share a lot of materials. So for us, it's very important also that you give us your opinion, and also let us know what do you need, what do you want to improve. So, and also for us to understand what is the best solution that we can provide. So my point here, the message is governance is very important, will be very important for the following years. The governance survey will continue. So, but for us, it's very important also to listen to you, what you need, your comments, your feedback, like Mr. Mervillos just said. So we are open also to listen and to improve. We are also learning as FINA and also as individuals, but the point is that to grow together, okay? Thank you very much for the invitation. Here is almost 2 a.m., so I'm a bit tired. But it's a pleasure for me also to see you, you know, face to face, because we talk a lot by phone or by email, but we never see each other. So it's a pleasure also to be in events like that. So thank you very much.
So, Sergio, if I may, maybe the question that people are asking themselves is, what's next? You know, we talk about all these. So, and what is next is something that could be like a governance assessment. So to see where you are at, what you have, what you don't have, where are your gaps, focusing in accountability and transparency, and then see how mature you are and make a plan to get where you need to be. You know, it is, I mean, you'll get the presentation or even a recording of the presentation, but the important thing is to dive in and see what is required for you to get where you need to be. And as Maureen said at the beginning, it is not to please FINA, not to please Am Aquatics, is for your sport organization to get better. And then you will please everyone. But that would be something that will happen because you are good in what you're doing. All right. So that's all I have to say. So my name is Hector Carranco, and I run a consulting services on leadership and governance and strategic planning here in Ottawa, and through Zoom and video conference anywhere in the world.
So if anybody has a question right now, you can, raise your hand or put it in the chat. If you don't want to raise your hand, you can write it in the chat. Moving forward, if something pops up down when you're talking about this and you want to ask a question, obviously feel free to reach out to us. It is our intention, and Sergio referred to it as well. This is the first step. We are providing you this introductory seminar to make governance as simple as possible. And what we want to do is, by the time FINA sends us the survey for 2023, we want to see improvement across all of our national federations. And not just on paper, not just by checking that box, but actually implementation of what you are putting on paper, because that is what it's all about. And I'm emphasizing again, we are here for the athletes. Every decision we make will affect the athletes. So let's make it so that it's a positive experience for the athletes. And the other thing I liked what Hector mentioned is the continuity is it's a big word, but the best thing that you can do is when you leave your leadership position, if they continue what you were doing. If you have a plan in place and you working that plan, the people that take over from you will continue that plan. That's your legacy. It's important what you do now, but it's even more important what you're leaving behind. Hector, thank you so very much. Sergio, thank you for being here. I don't see any questions in the chat. The video will be posted. You can share it with anybody in your federation that you think would like to see this video. And let's reach out to each other and continue working on governments.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you from Guyana.
Good night.
Thank you from Grenada. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you from Haiti. Good night.
Thank you from Curacao.